So right off the bat, there is something extremely suspicious about Gawain. And maybe not like straight up like she's sus or anything, but there's definitely like a lot more to her, or there's a lot more there than like I would immediately believe. And especially in this chapter for sure, I believe she's really like separating herself, or at least in my eyes, I can see a lot of separation between her and Escanor, like already starting to form in just how they are. But the beginning of the chapter is basically Pelagard being excited to be able to face off against all of the four knights of Apocalypse. You know, we finally got them all there, all together. And it's funny because we have Lancelot saying that, like, you know, if you're gonna run, now is your chance. And then Tristan is just flipping out, like, how dare you give the enemy a chance to flee? And I know I feel like I say this a lot. I feel like I really do say this a lot, but I really do like that Tristan is more like Elizabeth than he is Meliodas, because he just seems like such a spaz. Like, I didn't really think I was gonna like him as much as I was. Like I don't think I was gonna like him as much as I do. But it's just I don't know, because I just assumed he would be like I just assumed that Elizabeth and Meliodas' kid would just be a carbon copy of Meliodas. Like, I really just assumed that. I don't know why, but just him being so similar to Elizabeth is just so funny to me, especially in these kind of panels. But when Tristan asks Gawain what does she think, she says that, you know, she does the whole he gotta go, like we need to kill him because he called me a little girl. And it's funny because Escanor was, you know, prideful and all of that, but I feel like Gawain almost like hinges on brutal. And I'm not saying Escanor wasn't brutal, because Escanor, like in all the fights he did, he was absolutely studly and was absolutely amazing. But I don't know, with Gawain, it almost feels like there's a bit of like maliciousness in there, and we see that more throughout this chapter. But before all that, we do get Percival walking up to attempt to like reason with Pelagard, because he doesn't really want to fight Pelagard. It's the same thing that us, the readers, have been thinking a long time, that Percival's basically saying that Pelagard doesn't seem like a bad guy, so Percival can't hate him the same way he hates Arthur and his dad. And really, his hate for Arthur is kind of just based off of all the things that has happened to him. He hasn't actually met Arthur, so like his hate for him is kind of like just stemmed off of his experiences with Chaos Knights and what they do. And I feel like most of it is really based off of what Ironside does. So Percival cannot bring himself to hate Pelagard, and it's funny because we kind of get this moment where we almost start to think that maybe Pelagard might change his mind, like he might actually be like, maybe I will become a good guy. But no, of course, in the end, he does just end up snatching Percival and like taking off. And I thought Pelagard's escape was pretty cool because, like, I believe we've seen him fly on his shield in like his first appearance, but just seeing it all in action is really dope. You know, before anybody else is able to give chase, he does throw down a spell bead that has perfect cube, and as we know, perfect cube is basically indestructible to like any like attacks or anything like that. And also a smaller tidbit about perfect cube is it does reflect damage, so like whatever you try to do to the cube will also be reflected back to you. That is just another thing to keep in mind about the cube that I feel like Nakaba doesn't like. I feel like in the past when it was using Seven Deadly Sins, outside of like his first appearance, I feel like he kind of just forgot about that. I feel like he just forgot about that part sometimes. But with Percival being taken away, or with this attempt of a kidnap, this kind of does fully fulfill the prophecy that Bartra was talking about, with Hope being snatched away. Percival having connections to Hope with his magic being Hope and that kind of thing, and then, you know, Pelagard just taking him and flying off. So you know, I believe we hit all of our notes for the prophecy so far. We just have to wait and see how they all play out. In the midst of this, Tristan is still having a complete meltdown, wondering how they let Percival get kidnapped right in front of them, saying like, Lancelot, why didn't you do anything? And it's funny because Lancelot really couldn't do anything, because he said that his magic would have taken out Percival as well as Pelagard, so he really couldn't do anything. I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say like the only one of Percival's friends that could have done anything was possibly Donnie. But I'ma just, like I said, go out on a limb and just assume it was outside of Donnie's range to really do anything. So there is kind of that, because as we know, Donnie does have a set range on his telekinesis. So I'm assuming that they're just way too far away. But while they are trapped in the perfect cube, Gawain does like tap on it, and then she says something, and like it like breaks down, the whole perfect cube goes away. And when I first read this, I thought I thought her magic just straight up overpowered it. Like I thought like whatever her actual ability was, she just like overpowered it. And after that, Lancelot says, you just used absolute cancel, didn't you? And that's like absolutely insane, because like the only people that we've seen use absolute cancel is Chandler and Merlin, which I feel like this is really giving some credit to this Gawain potentially being some type of mix of like Escanor and Merlin. Like maybe Merlin actually really did somehow create Gawain. Like this is legitimately giving credit to it right here. I did do a video talking about this before. If you want to check that out, I'll put the little link to it up there somewhere. But this is legitimately giving credit to that, which is kind of weird if this actually does happen. But from there, Gawain just completely ignores Lancelot and summons her sacred sword Lita, which I mean,
hear me and obey my will. Divine axe Rita!
it's the divine axe Rita, but in sword form probably. So like, it's like there's so many similarities here. Like it's the same thing. It's the same thing. But from there, Gawain does disappear. Now, I've seen people say that they believe she teleported. Me, I thought she just like jumped really far. Because if you remember with Escanor, Escanor could do this thing where he could just like jump mad far away like really fast. And it looked like he like teleported or something. But in all actuality, he just jumped. But a lot of people seem to think that she teleported. Honestly, it doesn't really bother me either way. Either she teleports or she jumped, it's not a big deal. I mean, obviously if she did teleport, this would like lean to her further being in this whole magic scene, which would give her more credibility to being similar to Merlin and like maybe something derived from Merlin. So I mean, there is that whole thing with that. But I personally just think she just jumped. But in the midst of Tristan chasing down Pelagard, Gawain does just like pop in out of nowhere with her sword, but she's about to cut both of them down, and Pelagard says, "Oh, and you're going to take Percival along for the ride too," like saying like, you know, like you can cut me down, but you're also going to cut down Percival. And she says, "What do I care?" Which is just like another level of ruthlessness in my mind, which I don't think Escanor would have ever done. Like I like Escanor never, like as prideful as he was, he never really put other people in danger all like that. Like, cause if you remember back to when he was fighting Estarossa and his powers, like he was so powerful that, you know, the other holy knights, their armor was melting, like he was damaging them. He chose to take the fight somewhere else where they wouldn't be in danger. Like I don't think, like as prideful as Escanor was, he never really would hurt innocent people or like, you know, really do anything to put other people in danger. So this is, I really think, where there's a fine definitive line in their two personalities. Whereas Gawain, she definitely seems to not care at all about other people, seeing as she was willing to kill Percival. It actually, if it wasn't for Pelagard throwing Percival out of the way, Percival more than likely would have got messed up here. Now he does have hero type magic, so he probably would have been fine. Like probably, but you never know. So Pelagard did save him. And then at the end of all that, Percival does jump back and, you know, confront Gawain, kind of punching her back, and that's where the chapter ends. So next chapter, we might get a little bit of a fight between these two. I doubt it'll go too far. I don't think Tristan would let them have an entire fight, assuming he's actually able to do something to them, which I see no reason why he wouldn't be able to. But I'm definitely interested to see like where this is gonna take Gawain and Percival's relationship, because I have no doubt in my mind that Percival would forgive Gawain, but it's just how she is. I don't think she doesn't care. Like she wouldn't care for his forgiveness. She wouldn't care. Like all she wanted to do was right the wrong that she felt she got when he insulted her. So it's like dealing with her is going to be really, really, really difficult. I think if she does have a drawback to her abilities, if she does have some Sunshine-esque ability and there is a drawback, I believe maybe how the fight will end or stop will be whatever happens. Like say if she does get weaker when the day goes on, or say she does transform into something else. Like if there is a weakness, I think to stop the fight, that is what will happen. As far as the biggest things from this chapter, I think it was really interesting that Percival wasn't exactly wrong about Pelagard not being really a bad guy, because even Lancelot noted that his heart was like was wavering. So with that, it shows that, you know, Pelagard is battling with something inside of him, and there has to be a bigger reason why he chooses to stay with Arthur. Like there's something bigger than him, whether it be like maybe his family is part of Camelot and he's like doing this to protect them, or Arthur promised him something. Like there's definitely a reason there. Obviously the stuff with Gawain, you know, and just how she is, her personality, we're getting to see more and more of her personality. So I really am excited to see like how a lot more of that unfolds. I already gave you my thoughts on what I think is going to happen next chapter. I really do think, as I said, it's going to be a fight between Percival and Gawain. Don't think it's going to go all out. I really don't. Definitely don't think it's going to be some kind of all-out slugfest. It's definitely going to get interrupted in some way, shape, or form. One of the biggest questions I have, though, is where is Meliodas in the midst of all this? Because last chapter we've seen him kind of looking down, but in this chapter he wasn't shown at all. Not saying that he has to be shown, but I'm just very curious to know like what he could be doing while all this is happening. Like, is he just watching, or is he still just protecting, like just to see like what exactly is he doing? And of course there is the big question is what is going on with that other cloaked figure that was there with Pelagard, as well as I'm kind of curious to know like what Guinevere is up to right now. Like I kind of like wonder what that is all about. So there's definitely a lot of questions going forward into next chapter. Very, very curious to know what's going to happen. Like I probably gonna give this chapter like a 7. This chapter's cool. It's definitely better than average. Probably like a 6.5. No, 7. 7. Definitely a 7. 7 is definitely a fair rating for this chapter, in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think about this chapter down below, as well as let me know what you guys think about Gawain. Do you guys like the kind of way her personality is kind of shaping up to be being more of a ruthless kind of person? Or do you guys, like really think that she still is basically the same as Escalon? I'm kind of curious to know like where you guys fall on all of that. But aside from that, make sure you guys like the video as well as subscribe to the channel for more content, and I will see you all in my next video.